Hello, and welcome to Zenger Folkman's Leadership Skills series, where we discuss the 19 differentiating competencies that make the difference between good managers and extraordinary leaders. I'm Brianna O'Corin.
And I'm Joe Folkman. Glad to be here.
Yes, and today we are going to discuss strategic perspective. This one has always seemed a little mysterious to some people, but it is definitely one that is on people's radar. Why is this one of the 19 competencies, and what makes it so important?
I used to work with 3 strategy consultants, and they would always say to me, you know, if the organization has a good strategy, a monkey can make money. So, and I disagreed with them. I said, no, you need it. But it is key. If you have a good strategy, it is key to having a successful business.
Absolutely. Now, sometimes I feel like as we've talked about this on our podcast and in different areas, it seems to be that this skill isn't on people's radar early in their careers. And as a result, they sometimes don't get that promotion. So why is this something that people need to be utilizing, and how can they do that?
Well, early on in your career, you probably need to deliver results before you have a great strategy, right?
They don't want to hear your strategy.
Right. But what we find is over time, this skill becomes more and more important. In fact, when we looked at high potentials, we found that those who were rated as having high potential had significantly higher scores on strategic perspective than those who weren't high potentials. We also found that if we looked at management levels, top managers were rated better on strategic perspective than the next level down. So this score, this skill is very critical. But when we look at competencies overall, we actually found that on effectiveness ratings, this was rated 17th of 19 competencies.
That's really low.
Well, and then that's why it's difficult and it's harder to learn, and it takes time, and not everybody needs it. And most people would say, do you need to have everyone have a clear strategy? And no, but you need some, right? And the more the better. So the other thing that's interesting is in terms of importance, this is rated 9th in terms of how important it is in the organization. So while generally people aren't very effective at it, in terms of importance, it is very, very important to the organization.
And people recognize that as well. But like we said, this is a harder skill to develop. There is some mystery around it. How does one develop the strategic perspective early on in their career, especially? Are there any behaviors that are associated with it that can help you build this skill early on?
One skill that's really critical is communicating powerfully. So if you have a strategy in your head, that's not going to do anybody any good. Yeah. Strategies are useful when people know about them. And especially if you can communicate in a way that's visual and people really understand it. And the other thing is that it becomes believable. That I'm on a mission from God, right? That kind of thing, where people really hold the strategy close. So I had an interview once with a high-level executive, and we're walking in, and we were going to talk about turnover study that I did. And my colleague from the company said, you watch, he'll talk about strategy. And I said, no, we're going to talk about turnover. About 20 minutes into the conversation, the CEO is talking about strategy. He always talks about, he's a broken record, right? So he's on message. He's always connecting things to say, oh, here's how this connects to where we're going. And that's why that's important. And so this ability to communicate, that is critical in terms of strategic perspective.
Well, if you want any more suggestions on how you can develop your strategic perspective, we have a great insights library on our website, zengerfolkman.com. There you'll find different podcasts, articles, leadership studies, webinars, even that you can use. This is a free resource that we offer to anybody who comes. So visit us at zengerfolkman.com.